13 minutes to touchdown. Speed Mach 11.6. Altitude 32.5 miles. Distance to the runway 518 miles. 3 good auxiliary power units providing hydraulic pressure for the aero surfaces.
Discovery Houston Energy, ground track, and nav are go. We have you touching down 2,400 feet at 2:05.
Copy all that with an echo.
UHF just came in. We're working on the echo.
Okay, no problem.
Discovery Houston, take TACANs.
Taking TACAN.
Discovery now 10 minutes 45 seconds to landing. Commander Steve Lindsay given the go-ahead to take tactical air navigation data. Radar tracking showing shuttle is on track for a planned landing. Kennedy Space Center runway 15.
Discovery Houston, take GPS in the backup.
Copy, GPS in the backup.
Steve Frick telling Steve Lindsay it's okay to take global positioning system data in the backup mode. Supplying data to the backup flight system. 9 minutes 45 seconds to touchdown. Speed Mach 6.2. Altitude 25 miles. 214 miles to the runway. Discovery approaching Florida's southwestern coast. 3 good auxiliary power units. Nine minutes to touchdown. In about 4 minutes, we should be able to see the pilot's point of view camera looking out Discovery's forward windows. There are data probes being deployed to provide more precise navigation information. Mach 4.5. 21 miles up. 139 miles to the runway.
Discovery Houston, we did not see the right probe come out. We'd like you to wiggle the right air data probe switch.
Okay, we're checking it. Okay, we've got it in deploy. But the switch is really loose.
Okay, we copy. We're checking. Discovery Houston, we'd like you to enable stow the right probe and redeploy.
Pilot Mark Kelly on board the Shuttle Discovery reporting that a loose switch on one of the two air data probes.
Houston, take air data.
Taking her data.
Discovery Houston, we'd like you to hold off on taking your data to nav in the pass.
Okay. Yeah, we already did that, Houston. We'll do the NM26.
Discovery Houston, the residuals are up, but they're coming back down. You can keep it in auto.
Okay, going back to auto.
Five minutes, 30 seconds to touchdown. This view from the camera on top of the vehicle assembly building, looking at the Space Shuttle runway at Kennedy Space Center. Discovery on its approach. Speed Mach 1.7, 12.5 miles altitude, 68 miles to the runway.
And Houston Discovery, no joy on the right probe.
We concur. The left probe is looking good, however.
Yeah, we see that.
3 good auxiliary power units. However, one of the air data probes did not deploy.
Houston, you're on energy approaching the hack. No changes to winds and weather. Your nominal shoot deploy.
Copy all, nominal shoot deploy.
Guidance officer reports that the left air data probe providing good data. 4.5 minutes to touchdown. We're receiving pilot point of view cameras out the heads-up display on the flight deck of Discovery. Discovery now traveling at Mach 1. Altitude 9 miles. Range of the runway 68 miles.
Discovery Houston, no need to respond. Just to let you know the right probe did finally deploy and its air data also looks good.
Okay, good news, thank you.
Commander Steve Lindsay now actively controlling the descent of Discovery. Speed 5,500 miles an hour, 7 miles altitude, 68 miles to the runway. Correction, 22 miles to the runway. Discovery now 3 minutes to touchdown. Pilot Mark Kelly taking a turn at the stick. Speed 500 miles an hour. Altitude 5 miles. 17 miles to the runway.
Discovery Houston on at the 180.
Roger.
Discovery on target at the 180 mark of the heading alignment circle. Commander Steve Lindsay back in control. Three good auxiliary power units. Both air data probes deployed. Speed 450 miles.
Discovery Houston on at the 90.
Roger.
Discovery on track at the 90-degree mark of the heading alignment circle. Altitude 15,000 feet. Speed 420 miles an hour. Nine miles and a minute and a half to touchdown. Again, this is the view at the heads-up display.
Copy, field in sight.
Commander Steve Lindsay reports he has the landing field in sight. Speed 309 miles an hour. Altitude 6,300 feet. .5 miles to the runway. All systems looking good as Discovery comes in for a landing. Seconds to touchdown. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and locked. And gear touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat shield repair platform. We'll stop.
We'll stop, Houston.
Roger, we'll stop. Welcome back, Discovery, and congratulations on a great mission, expanding our knowledge and experience with orbiter repair and bringing the space station back to a full crew complement. We have no immediate deltas to post-landing, and we'll meet you on page 5-3.
Thanks, it was a great mission, really great mission, and enjoyed the entry and the landing, and we're going over to 5-3 now.
And this This is Mission Control Houston, the Space Shuttle Discovery and its crew.
Discovery Houston for Steve. We are ready at this time for rad reconfig on page 5-8.
Okay, copy. Rad reconfig right now.
Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And good touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. Liftoff. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. Liftoff. 30 seconds to touchdown. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot-long boom as a heat-shield repair platform. Liftoff. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and lock. And get touchdown. Nose nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot long boom as a heat-shield repair platform.
Houston Discovery, looks like everybody's off, and I'm about to go off comm, so I just wanted to tell Steve and the entire entry team it was a pleasure working with you today. Really enjoyed it. It was a fun entry. It was beautiful. At the high Mach numbers, at night going towards dawn, I just wanted to describe the picture for you. We could see the bright orange glow above, and I could see the Earth moving below, and it was just spectacular. We actually also saw the moon through the plasma. So it was a great entry and a great landing, and appreciate working with you and training with you.
Thanks very much for those words, Steve. We appreciate it. It was an exciting entry for us, too, and we envy you the view. And we look forward to seeing you when you get back to Houston.
All right, I can't wait. Talk to you later, and I'm going off.
This is Kennedy Space Center, Shuttle ground operations, and everything continues to go well with the post-landing safing activities for the Space Shuttle Discovery, which is now sitting on the shuttle landing facility after a very successful landing and 13-day mission to the International Space Station. Landing occurred at about an hour and 23 minutes ago. The crew transport vehicle is now backing away from the orbiter at this time. On board the crew transport vehicle are all 6 members of the STS-121 crew, and they are going through some initial checks. Everything seems to be fine so far. This crew transport vehicle is basically a people mover that we see sometimes at some airports, but the crew are on board at this point, and they are going to back away to away from the vehicle. And then the transport itself will lower on its hydraulic lifts, and the stairs on the back of it on the opposite side from this view will be lowered, and the astronauts can then come off and do a visual walk around of the orbiter itself if they so choose. This is a typical procedure for a mission at Kennedy Space Center of this duration, and again, everything continues to go well with that activity. The astronauts have all departed the orbiter and are on the crew transport vehicle, which is now parallel to the orbiter itself on the shuttle landing facility. The orbiter itself, we had a good landing again about an hour and 24 minutes ago. The main gear touchdown occurred at 9:14 and 43 seconds Eastern Time. That's 9:14 and 43 seconds Eastern Time. The nose gear touchdown occurred 10 seconds later at 9:14:53 seconds Eastern Time, and the wheel stop occurred at 9:15:49 seconds Eastern Time. Mission elapsed time was a total of 12 days, 18 hours, 37 minutes, and 54 seconds. And the total miles traveled was 5.3 million miles traveled in orbit. And we see the orbiter with the crew transport vehicle, the long transport vehicle, and parked behind it now is the astronaut van, and that will be the vehicle that carries the astronauts back to their crew quarters once they come off the crew transport vehicle. So we're standing by for the astronauts to depart, do a walk around. We'll have a camera that will be following them as they walk around the orbiter. And we also have a microphone set up at the shuttle landing facility where they can come and make any statements if they so choose. And then coming up, sometime shortly after that, will be a post-landing press conference. It's expected not to occur before 11 o'clock, but the post-landing press conference will be with our NASA Administrator, Mike Griffin, our Associate Administrator for Space Operations, Bill Gerstenmaier, and the KSC Launch Director, the Shuttle Launch Director, Mike Leinbach. Again, that will be no earlier than 11 o'clock today, Eastern Time. Standing by for a visual of the astronauts getting off the crew transport vehicle. That will be coming up momentarily. From the Kennedy Space Center, this is shuttle landing ground operations. And here we go. Our astronauts have come down the steps of the crew transport vehicle. Steve Lindsay, commander, and pilot Mark Kelly chatting with our NASA administrator, Mike Griffin. A number of our senior managers have come out to the shuttle landing facility to greet in person the astronauts for this mission, STS-121. Steve Lindsay, of course, was the commander. Mark Kelly, the pilot. Peter Sellers, Mike Fossum, Lisa Nowak, and Stephanie Wilson. Again, a number of our senior managers have come out to the shuttle landing facility, including our administrator, Mike Griffin, Bill Gerstenmaier in the red tie, with Mike Leinbach there, white shirt, and a number of others, Leroy Kane, Bill Parsons, Kennedy Space Center Deputy Director, Jim Kennedy with the jacket on, our director at Kennedy Space Center, Stephanie Stilson, the Orbiter Discovery's flow director, Mike Wetmore, manager of shuttle operations at Kennedy Space Center, and some others who have made it a priority in their careers to ensure the safety of launching and landing the space shuttle. pilot, Mark Kelly, walking over toward the vehicle. It's always a thrill for the astronauts to see in person the vehicle that was their ride up and back into space for the past week and a half, almost 2 weeks actually, from the time we launched on July the 4th, 2 weeks ago tomorrow. Looking at the thermal protection system, which covers the entire orbiter, but in particular the individual tiles which cover the orbiter's belly portion, and they're looking now at the aft end of the orbiter where the body flap and the engine components are held. Main landing gear, of course, with the main landing gear doors deployed. A number of technicians and individuals who work at the Kennedy Space Center whose job is to actually make sure the vehicle is safe for astronauts and other personnel to exit and to approach the vehicle. Main landing gear again. These tires are only used once. The nose landing gear tires may be used again, but the main landing gear tires are only used once. Mike Griffin talking to Commander Lindsay. I'm sure they're chatting about how things went during the mission, but also on this important day, this landing day here at Kennedy Space Center. Again, Mike Griffin, NASA Administrator. Rex Jevenin standing there with them, who is the Associate Administrator for NASA. Huddled around a couple of 3 crew members who are just returning from orbit, visiting the International Space Station. Leroy Kane, a very experienced flight director from the Johnson Space Center, now spending a lot of time at the Kennedy Space Center doing some work here. And we do expect and hope that the commander, as well as some of the other crew members, will come over for a brief statement to a microphone that we've got set up. Of course, they've been waitlist for about 13 days now, and all seem to be walking around fine, although there is a stress and strain on the physical body because of the weightlessness for 13 days, getting back into zero gravity now, having landed just about an hour and a half ago. And as the astronauts and members of our senior management team give a quick visual overview, a quick look over the orbiter Discovery as it sits on the shuttle landing facility, we anticipate that the astronauts, if they choose not to speak to us at this time, we do anticipate a press conference later this afternoon with Commander Steve Lindsay and perhaps others of his crew at the Kennedy Space Center. That press conference will occur around 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time today, in which he and perhaps others of his crew will come over and meet the press, basically, and share some of their experiences, having spent the last 13 days in orbit. Pointing to the nose cap of the orbiter, the reinforced carbon-carbon, a very sturdy piece of protection that the orbiter has on its nose, the same reinforced carbon-carbon material that's on the leading edges of the orbiter's wings. It sees maximum heating, and therefore it is a maximum protection. A little bit more than the thermal tiles themselves, and they are a little bit more than the blankets that actually end up covering the rest of the vehicle that sees lesser heating. But the nose cap, made up of the RCC, reinforced carbon-carbon, is a frontline protection for the orbiter as it's coming through the re-entry activities, and the maximum heating, of course, can exceed several thousand degrees, and has done its job quite well. This, of course, is all reusable. It does not have to be replaced. It is frequently serviced, and we can't take the nose cap off for maintenance, but this cap is a very durable piece of equipment that has done its job well on Discovery, especially today. Again, we're anticipating that the astronauts, well, they're standing now with for a photo opportunity with Discovery as a backdrop. Have a couple of our in-house photographers out there taking some photographs of the 6 members of the STS-121 crew. The 7th member, Thomas Reiter, who remained on station, of course, is not with them. But the 6 that came back to ground today to the Kennedy Space Center, make a picture-perfect landing, are glad to be home. Landing occurred about an hour and 40 minutes ago at Kennedy Space Center, landing on runway 15.
Die Discovery ist nach 13 Tagen im All sicher in Cape Canaveral gelandet. Die Besatzung hatte an der internationalen Raumstation ISS Reparaturen durchgeführt. Nicht mit zurückgekehrt ist der Deutsche Thomas Reiter. Er bleibt für einige Monate auf der ISS.
Die Raumfähre Discovery ist heute nach 13 Tagen im All zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Sie landete mit 6 Astronauten an Bord in Cape Canaveral in Florida. Die Discovery war am 4. Juli gestartet und hatte unter anderem den deutschen Astronauten Thomas Reiter zur internationalen Raumstation ISS gebracht.
Erst kurz vor der Landung hatte der Pilot der Discovery freie Sicht. Die Rückkehr auf den NASA-Weltraumbahnhof in Florida aber verlief ebenso problemlos wie die ganze Mission. Mit 7 Astronauten war die Weltraumfähre gestartet. Bei der Landung waren nur noch 6 an Bord. Der deutsche ESA-Astronaut Thomas Reiter bleibt bis zum Jahresende an Bord der internationalen Raumstation. Reiter verfolgte zusammen mit den anderen Astronauten der ISS die sichere Rückkehr seiner Kollegen zur Erde. Die Astronauten der Discovery wurden noch auf der Landebahn von einem erleichterten NASA-Direktor begrüßt. Michael Griffin hatte den Start trotz der Sicherheitsbedenken von NASA-Ingenieuren durchgesetzt. Der Hitzeschild der Weltraumfähre überstand den Flug ohne gravierende Schäden. Für die NASA ein Zeichen für den Erfolg der technischen Verbesserungen seit dem Verlust der Columbia 2003. Das ist mein 4. Flug. Ich habe 4 Shuttles nach der Landung inspiziert und keines sah danach so gut aus. Wir sind jetzt bereit, die internationale Raumstation auszubauen und die Shuttles wieder regelmäßig zu fliegen. Ohne die Weltraumfähren ist ein Ausbau der Raumstation nicht möglich. Schon Ende August soll die Atlantis starten, bevor Thomas Reiter im Dezember mit einem Space Shuttle zur Erde zurückkehrt.
Und präzise Landung des Space Shuttle Discovery wieder sicher zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Im amerikanischen Cape Canaveral auf Florida schauten heute nicht nur die NASA-Ingenieure gespannt und etwas bangend zugleich zum Himmel. Auch viele Schaulustige warteten auf die Ankunft der Raumfähre Discovery, die nach 13 Tagen im All wieder zur Erde zurückkehrte. Gerade diese letzte Phase des Shuttle-Flugs galt als kritisch, denn vor 3 Jahren war das Schwesterschiff Columbia beim Eintritt in die Atmosphäre explodiert. Schäden am Hitzeschutzschild waren dafür damals verantwortlich. Diesmal aber verlief die Mission einwandfrei.
Angespannte Stimmung im Weltraum. Gebannt blickt die Besatzung der internationalen Raumstation ISS auf den Bildschirm. Ihre Kollegen befinden sich im Landeanflug auf Cape Canaveral.
30 seconds to touchdown.
Um 15:14 Uhr ist es dann soweit. Auf die Minute pünktlich setzt die Discovery auf. Sanft bremst der Fallschirm die Raumfähre ab. Eine Bilderbuchlandung. Erleichterung im Kontrollzentrum. Der erste gelungene Flug eines Shuttles seit der Columbia-Katastrophe vor 3 Jahren. Das Shuttle hat den Eintritt in die Erdatmosphäre gut überstanden und auch der empfindliche Hitzeschutzschild hat offenbar keine größeren Schäden abbekommen. In den vergangenen Tagen haben die Astronauten 3 Weltraumspaziergänge durchgeführt, außerdem zahlreiche Tests und Reparaturen an der internationalen Raumstation ISS. Am Samstag hatte die Raumfähre dann den Rückflug zur Erde angetreten. Abschied im All. Der deutsche Thomas Reiter und 2 weitere Langzeitastronauten bleiben noch bis Weihnachten auf der ISS. Reiter soll dort in erster Linie Vorbereitungen treffen für das Raumlabor Columbus, das Ende nächsten Jahres ins All geschickt werden soll. Die halbfertige Raumstation soll so immer weiter ausgebaut werden. Der reibungslose Ablauf des Discovery-Flugs hat die NASA in ihren Plänen noch einmal bestätigt. Bereits im August soll der nächste Flug in den Weltraum starten.
All ist die amerikanische Weltraumfähre Discovery zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Das Shuttle landete pünktlich und sicher auf dem Weltraumbahnhof in Florida. Die Besatzung hatte an der internationalen Raumstation ISS Reparaturen durchgeführt. Außerdem hatte die Discovery den deutschen Astronauten Thomas Reiter zur ISS gebracht. Bis Dezember bleibt er im All.
Um 15:14 Uhr unserer Zeit setzte das Shuttle auf dem Weltraumbahnhof in Cape Canaveral auf. An Bord waren 6 Astronauten. Bis zuletzt war nicht ganz sicher, ob die Discovery pünktlich landen würde, weil über dem Weltraumbahnhof dicke Wolken aufgezogen waren.
Discovery ist am Nachmittag unversehrt zur Erde zurückgekehrt. Nach 13 Tagen im All landete sie mit 6 Astronauten an Bord in Cape Canaveral in Florida. Der Space Shuttle hatte am 4. Juli den deutschen Astronauten Thomas Reiter zur internationalen Raumstation ISS gebracht. Schon für Ende August ist der nächste Flug zur ISS geplant.
13 Tage im All, jetzt haben sie wieder festen Boden unter den Füßen. Die 6 Astronauten der NASA-Mission STS-121 sind heute Nachmittag pünktlich um 15:14 Uhr mit dem US-Shuttle Discovery in Cape Canaveral gelandet. Und das war der Kommandant Steve Lindsay, der die Discovery selbst auf den Boden gebracht hat. Pilot Mark Kelly konnte da gar nicht eingreifen. Es waren weiterhin Mike Fossum und Pierre Sellers, die beide 3 Weltraumspaziergänge hinter sich gebracht haben, und die beiden Astronautinnen an Bord, Liza Novak und Stephanie Wilson. Jetzt warten sie darauf, ihre Familie wieder in den Arm zu schließen, und natürlich warten weiterhin medizinische Untersuchungen auf sie. Perfekt, so hat eine Kollegin des Kommandanten Steve Lindsay die Anflugsphase und vor allen Dingen die Landung der Discovery heute Nachmittag in Cape Canaveral kommentiert. Perfekt, also genauso wie der Start vor 13 Tagen von Cape Canaveral. Und hallo und herzlich willkommen, meine Damen und Herren, bei Alltag, unserer Begleitung der Thomas-Reiter-Mission im All. Und Thomas Reiter, der 7., der an Bord der Discovery vor immerhin 13 Tagen mit ins All an die ISS geflogen ist, der ist natürlich nicht wieder mit runtergekommen, denn er hat noch ein halbes Jahr Arbeit und Forschungsaufgaben vor sich. So, und bei uns ist weiterhin Anatol Johansen, der die Mission bis jetzt mit uns begleitet hat. Herr Johansen, was macht denn eine perfekte Landung aus?
Nun, das ist praktisch das Gleiche wie in der Fliegerei. Also nicht zu lang, das heißt, er darf nicht zu weit hinten aufkommen, er darf nicht zu kurz aufkommen, er möchte möglichst am vorgeschriebenen Landepunkt aufkommen. Und man muss auch sehen, dass viele Shuttle-Kommandanten waren ja ehemalige Militärpiloten, Offiziere, Testflieger, und die setzen dann ihren ganzen Ehrgeiz rein, genau da aufzusetzen, wo man aufsetzen soll. Aber man muss auch sagen, die NASA hat spezielle Trainingsflugzeuge. Die sind so konfiguriert, dass sie in etwa das Flugverhalten des Shuttle, obwohl sie viel kleiner sind, nachmachen. Also man kann mit denen anfliegen, als ob man im Shuttle sitzt, und damit wird geflogen. Das ganze extreme Gegenteil sind natürlich die Russen, die mit ihren Fallschirmen landen. Da ist es in der Frühzeit einmal vorgekommen, dass der Kosmonaut etwa 1000 Kilometer weiter entfernt landete, als man wollte, und da wurde lange nach ihm gesucht.
Das müssen wir heute nicht mehr tun. Die perfekte Landung, wie gesagt, ist heute Nachmittag geglückt dem Kommandanten Steve Lindsay. Und heute Nachmittag um 15:14 Uhr waren wir hier im Columbus Control Center in Oberpfaffenhofen und haben den Anflug der Discovery auf Cape Canaveral mitkommentiert. Schauen Sie sich gemeinsam mit uns diese Bilder an.
Speed 420 miles an hour. Nine miles and a minute and a half to touchdown. Again, this is the view at the heads-up display.
Copy, field in sight.
Commander Steve Lindsay reports he has the landing field in sight. Speed 309 miles an hour. Altitude 6,300 feet. .5 miles to the runway. All systems looking good as Discovery comes in for a landing. .30 seconds to touchdown. Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and locked. And your touchdown. Nose gear touchdown.
Nach einem Bilderbuchstart am 4. Juli, jetzt am 17. Juli eine Bilderbuchlandung, eigentlich wie sie im Textbuch für Astronauten vorgesehen ist. Herr Johansson, was haben wir gerade gesehen? Wie können wir das einordnen?
Ja, das war man wagt es schon nicht mehr zu sagen, eine Bilderbuchlandung, also wirklich eine ausgezeichnete Landung. Und ich bin sicher, im Kontrollraum klatschen sie jetzt alle wie die Wilden und sind glücklich und fallen sich in die Arme.
Also auch hier im COL-CC, also im Columbus Control Center hier in Oberpfaffenhofen, haben wir auch gerade eben lautes Klatschen gehört, obwohl man in den Kontrollraum selber ja nicht reinkommen kann. In der NASA, im NASA-Kontrollraum, den wir jetzt gerade sehen, sind die Leute vollkommen begeistert, aber noch hoch konzentriert. Keiner springt auf. Ist es Business as usual?
Ja, jetzt wird der Shuttle in allen Einzelheiten nochmal überwacht, die verschiedenen Systeme. Sind jetzt zum Teil auch giftige Treibstoffe und Gase, die ausgasen und so. Die können jetzt nicht einfach rausstürmen und das Ding da stehen lassen. Es kommen gleich noch irgendwelche Untersuchungswagen, die da andocken und Messungen vornehmen und den Shuttle genau inspizieren.
Und mit dieser erfolgreichen Landung ist die NASA-Mission STS-121 beendet worden, die am 4. Juli mit einem ähnlich perfekten Start begonnen hatte.
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, go for main engine start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Zur internationalen Raumstation ISS. Hier beginnt die Raumfähre ihre Reise zurück in den Weltraum zur internationalen Raumstation ISS. Sie sehen die Kameras hier an der Außenseite. Sie sehen, dass die Raumfähre ihre Geschwindigkeit erreicht auf dem Weg in ihre Space Shuttle Mission STS-121. Hier wird die Raumfähre fliegt zurzeit mit 70% der gesamten Anschubkraft, um hier das Material zu schonen, mit 750 Meilen pro Stunde, ca. 900 Kilometer, 1000 Kilometer, Stundenkilometer. 57 Sekunden schon Flug. Es läuft alles problemlos. Hier
Discovery Houston, go at throttle up.
Discovery Houston, Start gelaufen. Hier ist Kommandant Steve Lindsay, übernimmt jetzt, wir hören ihn.
Lindsay
wird begleitet von dem Piloten Mark Kelly, den Missionsspezialisten Mike Fossum, Lisa Nowak, Stephanie Wilson, Piers Sellers, alle von der NASA und Thomas Reiter von der ESA, der 6 Monate auf der Raumstation ISS verbleiben wird. 1 Minute 46 Sekunden bereits Flug. 2600 Meilen pro Stunde ist die Geschwindigkeit.
Nach 13
In orbit, more inspections for any signs of damage, but this time the redesigned fuel tank, or ET, has done its job. Foam shedding was reduced and the shuttle gets a clean bill of health. For Piers Sellers, the risks may have been far higher on his first space mission 4 years ago.
Well, that was way back in 2002 before Columbia, and I guess, you know, we as an agency didn't know any better. We learned a lot since Columbia. You know, it's made us re-look at the whole ET business, the whole damage on ascent business, and I think that NASA's done a lot of heart searching in how to go about this and come up with a pretty good solution. You know, the inspection methodology that we have seems to be very effective.
NASA had a second shuttle on standby for a rescue mission, but no need for that now as the shuttle gets the all clear to land, to the relief of Shuttle Commander Steve Lindsay.
We deemed the TPS as 100% cleared for entry.
Well, Brew, that is great news. That's fantastic.
Discovery approaching Florida's southwestern coast. 3 good auxiliary power units. Speed 500 miles an hour, altitude 5 miles. Again, this is a view at the heads-up display. 9 miles and 1.5 minutes to touchdown.
Copy, field in sight.
Speed 309 miles an hour. Altitude 6,300 feet. 4.5 miles to the runway. All systems looking good as Discovery comes in for a landing. "30 seconds to touchdown." Altitude 250 feet. Gear down and locked. And get touchdown. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery's crew completing a 5.3 million mile mission to restore the International Space Station to an assembly-ready status and proving that they can use a 50-foot long boom as a heat-shield repair platform.
Roger, we'll stop. Welcome back, Discovery, and congratulations on a great mission, expanding our knowledge and experience with orbiter repair and bringing the space station back to a full crew complement.
Thanks, it was a great mission, really great mission, and enjoyed the entry and the landing, and we're going over to 5-3 now.
Well, I'd like to just thank the folks at Kennedy Space Center for a really clean vehicle. This is my 4th flight, and I've done 4 walk-arounds, and I've never seen a vehicle that looked as clean as this one did. And the vehicle was clean all the way through the flight. We had very few problems. And I'd like to thank all the folks here around NASA's shuttle program for providing us with a great vehicle. We had 2 major objectives on this flight. The first one was to complete the return to flight test objectives that 114 started, and the second one was to get us ready back for space station assembly. And I think we accomplished both of those objectives, and we're ready to go assemble station, and we're ready to start flying shuttles on a more regular basis.
For fans of the shuttle, the mission represents a return to flight that was long overdue.
It's nice to see it back in the air. I happen to believe it's the greatest flying machine ever developed. I think that it's only been grounded for most of the last year or two, principally because of the faint heart that most of the NASA administration seems to have these days. But I also believe that they reflect what's going on in our society and our culture today about trying to make things perfectly safe when it's not practical.
And now the pressure's on. Final preparations are underway for the launch of Shuttle Atlantis, which could lift off next month. The first of many more flights to take up parts to complete the orbiting space station before the shuttle's retirement in 2010. It never brought the cheap access to space that was once promised, so has it failed?
It has done some amazing things. It's helped to launch the Hubble Space Telescope, European Space Agency programs. It's helped send probes to the planets. But I suppose after more than 20 years of operation, then the time comes to retire something like that. This isn't like driving a 20-year-old car. You know, if you take something up into space, the strains of launching and coming back into the Earth's atmosphere are huge, and perhaps it's not a good idea to leave a vehicle running that long.
So what next for the space agency that some say has lost its way since the moon landings of the 1960s and 70s?
This was mission control in the Apollo era. There was huge public interest in space in those days as the first men set foot on the moon. Now NASA's trying to recapture some of that excitement, and work has already begun on a spacecraft that would take astronauts back to the moon and onto Mars.
And for inspiration, it's turned back the clock, the latest design with a familiar look to it.
This is a full-size model of NASA's new Crew Exploration Vehicle. When the shuttle's retired, this would take astronauts to the space station and on to the moon. It looks a little bit like the old Apollo capsules, but this is bigger and it could carry 4 to 6 astronauts at a time.
And this is the launch vehicle. No more winged spaceships like the shuttle. The crew hitch a ride on top of a conventional rocket. In orbit, the vehicle docks with the landing stage, and together they head for the moon. There would be at least 2 missions a year. The plan is to build up a semi-permanent lunar base. Astronauts could spend up to 6 months on the surface, a rehearsal for long-duration missions to other worlds. But not everyone's thrilled at the prospect of this return to familiar territory.
Well, there's a strong sense amongst my group of people that been there, done that, when we talk about going to the moon. And there was excitement about it before, back in the 60s, which I call the golden age of manned spaceflight, because it had never been done before. You won't get that excitement again on the second time. And the reason they were excited is because it was something that had never been done. The only thing that would create that same kind of excitement today is, of course, going to Mars.
But that's a far harder proposition. It's a round trip of about 3 years, and long-duration exposure to cosmic radiation presents a potentially serious hazard. Another obstacle is the cost, estimated at some $90 billion. Securing the budget will be a challenge.
The Congress, in its wisdom, voted overwhelmingly last December to write into law this as goals of the U.S. space program. It's going to be done slowly because there's not a lot of money. After President Kennedy committed the United States to go to the moon, NASA's budget went up 89% one year and 104% the next year. Now NASA's budget's going up 2 or 3% a year at best. So this is going to be a long process, but it's certainly doable.
And if NASA doesn't do it, then someone else could. For now, the Chinese and other emerging space nations are playing catch-up, but that could change. And with rocketing costs, some say an international effort is the only way forward for interplanetary exploration.
I'd like to see us take advantage of the capabilities of the Europeans. They're involved with us on space station. Certainly the Canadians, the Japanese, and looking at bringing the Chinese and the Indians in as well, and the Russians, of course. So I think if we're going to do it, we ought to do it looking at how we can do it together.
What it doesn't absorb, it just reflects back as well.
The scientists of the future may reap the rewards. At Piers Sellers' former school Cranbrook in the south of England, the pupils take inspiration from their predecessor turned spaceman.
I think Piers Sellers just shows us that you can actually do something inspirational and make something of your life which makes a difference to people and, you know, better the world in a way, show us what is actually out there.
It's quite good motivation to see what you can do in the future and like how he's done so much, and yeah, just encouraging young people to live to their potential.
But like Piers Sellers, any more budding British astronauts from here will have to go abroad to fulfil their ambitions after the country chose not to invest in manned space missions. Some believe that's short-sighted.
I think what worries me is that there probably doesn't seem to be enough recognition here in this country and elsewhere that that kind of investment is really important to the future. The money doesn't get spent in space. It gets spent right within this country. And so, you know, when the United Kingdom decided they weren't going to be involved in human spaceflight, that investment, the money, would have come into the United Kingdom and would have helped their industry. Now it's helping the industry of France and Italy and Germany.
Britain's ambitions are limited to robotic missions, and this is the latest prototype Martian lander. Negotiating the steps of central London presents enough of a challenge for now. When the mission gets underway, the plan is to drill deep into the surface to look for signs of life. It's a precursor to a manned European mission in 15 to 20 years' time. And despite the cost, some are confident that humans will set foot on the surface of the red planet before too long.
I'm pretty sure that I'll be getting to watch some of the younger people who are in the office now, and some of the younger people who are working around the center, you know, lead that charge. I think I'll get to see it safely from my retirement. But I'm very excited about it. I would really like to see that happen soon.
It's been a dream for space enthusiasts for over a century, humans exploring the surface of our neighbouring planet. Until now, that's been little more than science fiction, but the plans are in place and that dream might just become reality.
Time